بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين من عداوتهم إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد والفرقان الحميد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا المودة في القربى ثم قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم إني تارك فيكم الثقلين كتاب الله وإترتي وأهل بيتي صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الأمين الكريم السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله عبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزياراتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين لا سيما أبو الفضل العباس وعلي الأكبر صلى الله عليه وسلم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
آج واقعاً چاند رات ہے اور محرم کا آغاز ہے. جیسے کہ اکثر لوگ جانتے ہیں کہ حسب معمول یہ انگلش میں کچھ جملے ٹوٹے پھوٹے آپ کی خدمت میں عرض کرنا چاہتا ہوں، تو لہٰذا میں اپنی گفتگو انگلش میں شروع کرتا ہوں. This day begins the world over, the mourning, the lamentation of the martyrs of Karbala. There is going to be a continual discussion on the topic which I have chosen for this Ashra. And I just want you to pay a few minutes attention on some of the questions which I'm going to pose to you. I just want you to think about these questions and what comes into your mind. The Prophet died in 11 Hijri. And he showed the world who his Ahlul Bayt were. 50 years on, in 61 Hijri, the events of Karbala take place. In a period of 50 years, the grandson of the Prophet is martyred. The blood which runs through the vein of the Prophet runs through the vein of Imam Hussein al-Islam. And the Muslims, they feel that spilling the blood of Hussein and his family is permissible. For did the people not know the virtues of Imam Hussein al-Islam? For this same Hussein was riding on the Prophet's back when the Prophet used to pray. And I was thinking last night, did this occasion of being on the back of the Prophet whilst he was in sujood, in prostration, was it a single occurrence? No. It wasn't. This is something which I felt it could not be a single occurrence, because at childhood and the playground of Imam Hussein was Masjid Nabawi. But the narrators have mentioned this once. But one can only assume this happened several times where the Prophet prolonged his sajda. And the companions were seeing this. And despite this, they still felt it necessary to march this individual about whom the Prophet has said many things. Inna al-Husayn misbah al-huda wa safinatul najah. That Hussein is the torch of guidance and the ark of salvation. Hussein minni wa ana min al-Husayn. I am from Hussein, Hussein is from me. Al-Hasan wal Hussein Sayyid al-Shabab al-Jannah. All these hadiths, many more hadiths, were narrated in front of the companions, in front of those professing to be Muslims. And yet they still deemed it necessary to martyr him in Karbala. It's not just the men who suffered. It's not just the men who suffered, the ladies as well. They were taken captive. These ladies, the granddaughters of the Prophet, are taken captive. This all on this is an introduction. This is just things for you to ponder about. The whole of this session is going to be an introduction, and tomorrow will be a partial introduction as well, and inshallah then we'll start the topic of our conversation. So, these individuals, they had the Quran revelations about them. Ayat al-Tahir, Ayat Mubaddad, Ayat Mubahla. And people were seeing this, the status of these individuals, but they still deemed it necessary to violate the blood of the Prophet's family in a period of 50 years. It's not just Imam Hussein Islam. Ali Akbar has a special status in Karbala as well. As well as being one of the martyrs of Karbala, he is also the living copy of the Prophet. Can anybody imagine if anybody now claim from a Sadat family, a Sayyid family, a Hashmi family, that my son looks like the Prophet? I guarantee you that people would queue up for days on end just to have a glimpse of this individual. And they then deemed it necessary to kill martyr Ali Akbar. How could they do this? How could they do this? What type of mentality could these people have? There must have been something drastically gone wrong in the period of 50 years. Somebody might argue, no, Islam alhamdulillah was thriving. No, it wasn't. Because Imam Hussein alayhi salam's martyrdom is accepted both by Sunni and Shia, that this martyrdom was actually a way of blessing Islam with life again. They all agree. But the difference between the two groups is that one group looks at the root cause of the problem, and the other just looks upon the superficial, what the outside complexion of this problem was. It was a battle between two individuals. But we as Shias, the believers of the Ahlul Bayt, we will go inshallah into the depths of the destruction which took place in 50 years. So, the Muslim Ummah claims that we act upon the Quran and the Sunnah. We act upon the Quran and the Sunnah. Did the people who deemed it necessary to martyr the family of the Prophet, knowing the ayats of the Quran, knowing the hadiths of the Prophet, they still deemed it necessary to martyr the Ahlul Bayt? What happened to that mentality? The mentality during the Prophet's lifetime, where the Prophet used to recite ayat at-tahir at the doorstep of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra Salaamullah alayha. He used to recite ayat at-tahir at that doorstep, and people used to see this. And then these same individuals deemed it necessary to threaten to burn the house down of Bibi Fatima Zahra. Only a few days back, the Prophet was saying, I am leaving you two things. Inni tarikun fikum thaqlain, two weighty things. My Quran and Ahlul Bayt. And this same Ahlul Bayt in Fatima Zahra's door is that door of Ahlul Bayt. Those of you I've mentioned this before, those who've gone to Hajj and those who know something about history, the door of Bibi Fatima Zahra used to open actually into Medina's mosque, Masjid Nabawi's mosque. No other door apart from the Prophet's door and Mawla Ali's door, no other door used to open into the actual courtyard of the masjid. When they first came from Makkah to Medina, all the doors were surrounding the masjid and they all used to open. And then the order came that all the doors should be closed except the Prophet's and Imam Ali's. And how can these individuals then have threatened to burn the house down of Bibi Fatima Zahra and then take Imam Ali from his house and ask for allegiance? This is straight after the Prophet's passing away. These events are not taking place 50 years down the line of Karbala. This is happening straight after the Prophet. Only 60, 70 days ago, yani on the 18th of Zilhajj, the Prophet announces Khum al-Ghadir in front of all the companions, and then the 28th of Safar, on the 28th of Safar, this is the beginning of Muharram, and the next month is Safar. Safar is the month after Muharram, and on the 28th of the Safar, the Prophet passes away. Period of 60, 70 days. 70 days, and people have forgotten Ghadir, and now are threatening to burn down the house of Bibi Fatima Zahra Salamu alayha. Something drastic was wrong. And this issue is something that we have the guts to address and to discuss. History has tried to forget this event. History has tried to forget this event, but it has failed miserably. Because even the historians who are not pro-Shia, who have no sympathy for the Shias, they could not hide these events. Even Bukhari, he could not hide these events completely. He's done everything within his power to try to hide these events, but even he has failed. So, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, on the 28th of Rajab in the year 60 Hijri, he leaves Medina and goes to Makkah. Now why does he do this? Muawiyah dies in Rajab in the year 60 Hijri. A question which I want to pose to you, and just think about this over the next couple of days. Why was it necessary for Imam Hussein al-Islam, not during the time of Muawiyah, to leave Medina and go to Makkah for this uprising against tyranny? Why did he wait until Muawiyah died and Yazid took over? Muawiyah died in Rajab, in the middle of Rajab. Muawiyah died in the middle of Rajab. And when Walid asked Imam Hussein al-Islam to pay allegiance to Yazid, Imam Hussein said, a person like me does not pay allegiance to somebody like him. And then the following day, he leaves. He gets all his family ready, he leaves. something which crossed my mind is, did Islam all of a sudden, from the death of Muawiyah to the inception of the Khilafat of Yazid, in the period of middle of Rajab, Imam Hussein leaves on the 28th of Rajab, gets to Makkah 3 days later. So you have Rajab, Ramadan, Shaban, Rajab, Shaban, Ramzan, Shawwal, Zilqad, Zilhajj. A period of 6 months. In a period of 6 months, had Islam been so violated that Imam Hussein had to rise up against him? No. There is wisdom behind this as well. And inshallah, I will just touch upon this subject because it's not part of the subject which I'm discussing, but it is necessary to know some of these facts which are surrounding this event. Now, Imam Hussein Islam, he leaves Medina for Makkah. He stays in Makkah until Yawm Tarwiyah on the 8th of Zilhajj. This is 2 days before Hajj. The following day is Yawm Arafah. On the 9th is Yawm Arafah, and the following day is Eid. Now, Imam Hussein on the 8th of Zilhajj decides to leave Makkah and go towards Karbala. Why? Again, this question I want you to ponder over and think about. And once you have a few questions in your own mind, you'll find that keeping up, you will perhaps find that more information will be absorbed if you have questions in your own mind. We all understand one thing, that the Prophet of Islam has mentioned this hadith, is mentioned in both Sunni sources and Shia sources, that there will be 73 sects amongst Muslims. Amongst the Christians it was 72, amongst the Jews it was 71. But the Muslims have outdone the rest of the nations and gone up to 73. And the Sunni and the Shias agree only one will go to heaven and the rest will go to Jahannam. This is something which is accepted both by Sunni and Shia. And another interesting hadith is that the Prophet mentioned that my nation will follow in the footsteps of the past nations. Inch by inch, cubit by cubit, they will follow the past nations. Now, this is where we come to our problem. We are following in the footsteps of the past nations. The question then arises, one basic question that we all know. I mean, those of you who are interested in Christianity, Judaism, and read up on this, one thing they have done is they have changed their books. They have changed their own Torah, they have changed the Injil. Did that happen to Islam? No, it didn't. There is one unique factor in Islam, and that is the Quran. Quran is the one basic principle that we as Muslims all agree that the Quran isn't protected by any Maulvi, isn't protected by any individual, but the Quran is directly protected by Allah Himself. For Allah has taken this responsibility upon Himself that with the previous nations, their book, the Torah and the Injil, is going to be manipulated by some individuals. But the Quran is going to be protected from this. The Quran is going to protect. It says in the Quran, "Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafizun." That indeed, surely, we are the ones who revealed the Quran and we are its protectors. Allah has directly guaranteed the authenticity of the Quran, free from alter, change, and concealment. These three words, alter, change, and conceal. This is the terminology used in the Quran when it talks about the Torah and the Injil. Three things were done. They altered. It's a subtle difference. Alter something, change something, and conceal something. But that embodies the whole of everything you can do to change something, to suppress something. Alter, change, conceal. If you put those three into a block, and then from that block you have the offshoots, it can come to suppression of information. Suppression of information. Silence of information. Silence of information is suppression. If you cannot speak, or you are banned to speak, you cannot speak. If you speak, then punishment will be meted out against you. That is suppression of information. Not being able to write is suppression of information. Changing information is suppression of information. Concealment, right, something doesn't exist, is suppression of information. All these have the same root. And the Quran has mentioned these three words about the previous ummahs. They have done these three things. They have concealed, altered, and changed. And inshallah, in the next couple of days, I will give you references of these words used in the Quran regarding previous nations. Because those of you who just joined, this is just an introduction of the topic which will be discussed inshallah in the next 8 or 9 days. Is that I'm going to discuss in front of you this topic. Is this very, very subject of alter, change, and conceal. How the previous nations did this, and how this ummah did this. We have actually two major, primary, basic sources of information. We have the Quran and we have the Prophet's qawl, his saying, his fi'l, his actions. Now, everybody claims that we are following the Prophet's sunnah. Everybody claims we are practicing the way of the Prophet. And you hear this, actually when I hear this on TV, when I hear this actually discussed amongst the ulama, it pains me. It pains me. And I want you to also listen to this and understand this and remember it as well. That inshallah, in the next day or so, I will also discuss the value of the saying of our brothers, the Quran and the Sunnah, Quran and the Sunnah. Was the Quran and the Sunnah being implemented in Karbala? Why don't they raise their voices and saying this is outright kufr? Killing the imams was kufr. But yet, those of you who do not understand or have not read the books, they have tried to defend even Karbala. Yes. Saying that Imam Hussein was wrong, it is written in their books. They have tried to defend Yazid. Imam Ghazali, who was one of the greatest Sunni scholars, he has said that talking about Karbala actually brings about hatred for the companions. He has said this, so we shouldn't really mention this too much. Imam Ghazali. And this is not just Ibn Khaldun. When I was reading and researching this topic, I was reading about Ibn Khaldun. Ibn Khaldun is one of the great Sunni alims, and when he was talking about the Ahlul Bayt, this made my blood boil. When he was talking about the Ahlul Bayt, he was saying the Ahlul Bayt, well, they were not right in their thought and approach. This is the words he's using about the Ahlul Bayt. And the Prophet is saying, I'm leaving you two things, the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. And Ibn Khaldun is saying, well, the Ahlul Bayt, the Aima of the Ahlul Bayt, they were slightly diverted. Why? It's because they were giving the true Islam. So, we have two primary sources. We have the Quran, and we have the Ahlul Bayt, who are the interpreters of the Sunnah of the Prophet. They are actually the interpreters of the Sunnah of the Prophet. When you talk about the Sunnah has come through, I'm just going to finish now. So the Sunnah of the Prophet has come from two sources. For those of you who do not know these sources, they are the Ahlul Bayt, and secondly, they are the companions. And inshallah, tomorrow I will also just hint how much our brothers have used the Ahlul Bayt for their religion. Last point, then I will finish. Our brothers, they claim that they follow the Ahlul Bayt. They worship the Ahlul Bayt. They respect the Ahlul Bayt. They regard them with great esteem. I said, Alhamdulillah. That's very good to hear these words. But does it actually work in practice? Does it work in practice? Are they following the Ahlul Bayt? Are they loving the Ahlul Bayt? Are they following the footsteps of the Ahlul Bayt? How much respect do they have for the Ahlul Bayt? When it comes to their Aqidah, I really wish that we had a few Sunni brothers here, they were listening to this. When it comes to their Aqidah, have they followed any Imam from the Ahlul Bayt for their Aqidah? Aqidah is the Asul. Their Asul. Like we believe in Tawheed, Adl, Nubuwwat, Imam, Qiyamah. This has come back from the Ahlul Bayt. That these are the principles. Who have they taken their principles from? During their times, there were two groups. Qazi Abdul Jabbar, who was a Mu'tazili, and Abul Hasan Ash'ari, who's an Ash'ari. So, none of these were from the Ahlul Bayt. And they have taken their Aqidah from the Ash'ari. They have taken the Imams from the non-Ahlul Bayt. Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Imam Shafi. Are they from the Ahlul Bayt? No. When it comes to narrating hadith,